Welcome back to Malt Music or Whiskey Reviews. I am Eric. On the bar for today, I have another independent bottling here for Indie Bottle April. What we got here is the Glenrothes 1996 vintage, 20 years old, bottled by Creative Whiskey Company, part of the Exclusive Malts of Scotland range. So we're going to do a no taste finish review of this whiskey. As always, I'll tell you a bit about the value, give you my final thoughts, final score, and of course, leave you with the malt music. But first, if you've yet to take a sec, smash that subscribe button. That'll make sure you don't miss these reviews. I drop them every Friday on YouTube. Also have a Tuesday happy hour every Tasty Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Would love to see you there. Okay. First of all, let's get it out of this box. This is, again, as I mentioned, this is part of the exclusive malts range from Creative Whiskey Company. Glenrothes Speyside Distillery. This is a 20-year-old whiskey. This was distilled in 1996. There are 285 bottles in the cask here. This is from a refill sherry hogshead. It's about right for what you get from a hogshead. It's about a medium-sized barrel when it comes to sherry and whiskey aging is concerned. This is bottled at 54.5% ABV. And it does not say anything about chill filtration or natural color, but this has all been in refill sherry. Now, the exclusive malts is the premier single cask collection from the Creative Whiskey Company. Each cask selected for quality, and they do this little color coding on these. And we'll take a look at what that means at the end. So given that this is a pretty old whiskey at 20 years old, I have had this sitting out to oxidize for about 15 minutes or so. So we got it sitting here in the glass right here. Well, it doesn't say anything about natural color or non-chill filtration. You know, almost always is the case with these that they are, they do not have fake color added, and they are not chill filtered. There is a look at this single malt. All right, let's get into the nose here. Oak. This has a very oaky quality on the nose. You get a little bit of dark chocolate out of that too. But definitely has some wood spice going on. The sherry is there. It's coming as kind of a bright, kind of sweet red fruit. There are a lot of different spices as well. Kind of like a gingerbread, cinnamon, definitely. That's about it. You are also picking up some vanilla, some kind of light caramel. Let's see what else we get here. Maybe a bit of butterscotch. Okay. All in all, pretty standard, kind of what you'd expect. Nothing really popping out that's super exciting about this, but it does smell pretty warm and inviting. Let's give it a taste. Slush. Pretty oily, creamy mouthfeel. Vanilla and caramel and oak. Sherry's there as well. Get some nice red fruit notes. I kind of got a sweet spice thing going on here. You get a nice kind of hit. It's a little bit like, yeah, again, kind of dark charred oak tannic note as it's going into a medium finish. Light caramel, a little bit of creamy vanilla, maybe some hints of toffee in there. It's a rich whiskey. It's not the most complex whiskey for 20 years, but pretty nice mouth coat. Just a bit on the oaky side. I'll do one more neat sip. And it almost has like a brandied cherry note to it a bit too. Very oaky. Okay, let's put some water on this. Again, this is bottled at cask strength, 54.5% ABV. We are going to put 5 or 6 drops on here. Let's see how this reacts with some water. All right. Back to the nose. I'd almost like polish, like wood polish, wood finish. A little bit perfumey, but again, pretty tight concentrated whiskey here. Oak, spices, and a bit of sweet red fruit and vanilla. Those spices, again, kind of your standard baking spice. Cinnamon, ground cinnamon, cinnamon stick. Nice fruit notes. All right, here we go with some water. Water does tame down that oak spice a bit, allowing the sherry to shine a bit more here. You'll get a pretty heavy pop of spice in the back end of this. Again, creamy, oily, pretty viscous, drying finish on the mouthfeel. A little bit of cocoa powder, vanilla, maybe even a little bit of like an almond, kind of chocolate covered almond type thing going on here. All right. So as again, this is part of the exclusive malts range from the Creative Whiskey Company. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you see this has a red color coating on here. Well, this hanging on here, apparently they have 6 different colors that you'll find these in. There's like a gold, light blue, red, purple, kind of a dark blue, and a black. The red, unsurprising, spicy, dry, and oaky. So that is not a surprise because that is a bit of what we are picking up here on this bottle. So interesting little kind of color coding thing that they do to kind of give you a sense of what the tasting notes are going to be like regarding the style of the whiskey. So you do get a bit of understanding what the style is. Okay, so let's talk value here. This is a pretty exclusive whiskey. No pun intended, considering it is the exclusive malts range. I would say for a whiskey like this, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find this particular bottling, although you will find others from them. This would be something probably you find around secondary market. So initially, this was around $140, $150 bottle. Right now, I'd say you'll probably be able to find it somewhere in that $175 range in secondary markets. Glenrothes is not exactly a heavily sought after malt. So if this is something you're looking for, that's about the price you're going to find in auction and or in a secondary market. And, I'll put the value right at about medium on this one. It's about what you would expect. I don't think it necessarily does anything to make this a must buy in terms of its exclusivity or its price. But it's not necessarily a slouch whiskey either. Okay. So final thoughts here. I want to take a moment first just to go back to the fact that I had this sitting on the glass for a while. As you can see, I've spent some good time with this bottle. And I can tell you, the benefits of oxidization, whether in the glass or in the bottle, can really, really change a whiskey. In the case of this one, when I first opened this, I was not impressed at all. I literally was really just getting nothing but hard, heavy oak notes. I found it to be really kind of a boring whiskey, kind of not particularly suited for my palate, and kind of underwhelming for what I would expect it for 20 years, especially in a refill sherry hogshead like this. Something that I would expect to have brought a bit more flavor. This has changed substantially just in the time that I've been drinking it, and because in part of the amount of oxygen in this bottle that has been breaking down this whiskey a bit, letting it open up a lot more, and that has dramatically changed this whiskey. I think it helped out quite here in the glass as well. While this is still a very oak-dominated whiskey and not necessarily the most complex thing you expect, especially around that 20-year range, I do think oxidization has benefited this whiskey a lot, and I recommend folks generally, keep an eye on it on whiskeys that you have. You might find whiskeys hit that sweet spot, especially if they're things that you don't like initially. Sometimes they will open up for the better, or whiskeys you're kind of on the fence on. So I'll tell you after the first few pours, this was probably a 275 whiskey for me. Not something that I think was worth the money, and not even quite average in my book. However, with oxidization, I think this whiskey has turned around to be relatively enjoyable, if not super interesting dram. I do enjoy the kind of creamy mouthfeel this has, which is kind of typical for Glenrothes, but it does just lack a bit of complexity and a little bit of balance still after that much oxidization that you really just would want to see in something that should be a bit more elegant at 20 years old. So my final score on this whiskey is going to be a 3.25 out of 5. Which means, you know, worth giving a try if you ever get the opportunity. And if this is something you really like, if this is a style you like, by all means, happy hunting to find yourself a bottle. So 3.25 out of 5 is the final score for the Creative Whiskey Company's exclusive malts Glenrothes 20 years old, 1996 single cask vintage. With that, I will kick you on over to your malt musing. Drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Have you had anything from this range? Anything that you really enjoyed? Some things you didn't? Have you had this bottle? Love to hear it. And be sure to smash that like if you enjoyed this review on your way out the door. Until next time, I raise a glass to you all. Sláinte. Here's your malt musing.